Hey guys, tonight we are not going to battle, nor are we going to be sneaking into a shogun's castle. We are going to do something far more challenging, far more perilous. We're going to try and enjoy a day out. For this journey, you are a low-minus ranking samurai, living in the bustling city of Edo during the long, peaceful 18th century. Your sword skills are probably a bit rusty, but your ability to look bored while maintaining perfect posture is top-notch. Honestly, the most dangerous thing you're likely to face today isn't a ninja assassin. It's the existential dread of being a warrior with no wars to fight. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love it if you could drop a comment letting me know what city you're listening from and what time it is for you now. Seeing our little community span across the globe in these quiet hours is a truly special feeling for me. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you are aware of is the light. Not a harsh, sudden light, but a soft, milky minus white glow that filters through the paper of the shoju screens, painting a gentle rectangle on the tatami mat floor. Outside, the sounds of Edo are beginning to stir. The distant cry of the tofu seller, the rhythmic clack of wooden sandals on the street, the soft tolling of a temple bell. This is the sound of peace, and it is the sound of your one day of rest. You slide out from under your thick cotton futon, the air cool against your skin. You are not a wealthy man. Your home is a small, rented house in a respectable but unremarkable samurai district. But you have your status, your family name, and the two swords that rest, silent and gleaming, on a wooden stand in the corner of the room. And you have your hair. Your first task of the day, your most important ritual, is also the one you dread the most. It is time to create the Chonmage, the samurai tobno. This is not a casual hairstyle. It is your uniform, your badge of office, the unmistakable signifier of your class. And it is an absolute pain. Use it before a small, polished bronze mirror that reflects a dim, distorted version of your own face. The first step is the shave. You take a small, terrifyingly sharp razor and carefully, painstakingly, shave the entire top of your head, from the forehead to the crown. A single sweep could mean a nasty cutting. Worse, a day of ridicule. The cold steel against your scalp is a bracing, unpleasant way to start the day. Once your pate is smooth, the real work begins. You take up a pot of Benties Ukiyo-e, the hard, waxy pomade made from camellia oil in Japan wax. It has a distinctive, oily, slightly sweet smell that will follow you all day. You work a generous amount of this sticky, stiff wax through your long hair, from the roots to the ends, until it is a single, cohesive, greasy mass. Then comes the combing. You use a special, fine-toothed boxwood comb to pull every single hair back, tightly, from your face. The tension on your scalp is immense. It feels like your forehead is being permanently stretched backwards. You gather the oiled lock of hair, fold it forward over the shaved patch, and secure it with a meticulously tied cord of waxed paper. The motto Iui. The result is a perfect, sleek, all-minus darkened queue of hair, lying flat and neat. It looks impeccable. It feels like a helmet made of your own hair. And here you contemplate the central irony of your existence. The official reason for this hairstyle, the one the old masters always give, is that the shaved pate was designed to make a warrior's helmet fit more comfortably and to help keep the head cool in the heat of battle. But you have never worn a helmet in your life. You have never been in a battle. For 200 years, this land has been at peace. You, and thousands of samurai like you, endure this daily, uncomfortable ritual for a practical purpose that no longer exists. Historians will forever debate the true function of the Chonmage in the Edo period. Was it a genuine, if archaic, holdover from a more violent time, or had its purpose shifted entirely, becoming a purely social signifier? A way to prove you were a member of the elite, that you had the time, the means, and the discipline to maintain such an impractical and elaborate hairstyle. Was it a badge of honor, or just a very complicated and slightly itchy status symbol. You give the top knot a final pat, ensuring it's perfectly centered. It will hold its shape all day, a rigid testament to your identity. It is a source of pride, a connection to your warrior ancestors. But as you stand up, feeling the familiar, tight pull on your scalp, you can't help but think that a warrior's greatest burden, in a time of profound peace, might just be his own hair. Your top knot is complete, a perfect, gleaming helmet of waxened hair. It feels tight and secure, a crown of discipline. Now, for the second part of your morning uniform, you approach the katana -gate. The two -tiered swords stand in the corner of the room. It is the most valuable object in your small home, more valuable than the house itself. On it rests your day's hoe, the big and small, the matched pair of swords that are the soul of the samurai. You first lift the katana, the long sword. Its black, lacquered scabbard, the sae, is smooth and cool to the touch. The hilt, the Ukiyo-e, is wrapped in white race kin and bound with dark blue silk cord in a precise, diamond pattern. It feels heavy, familiar, an extension of your own arm even when sheathed. You slide it, with a practiced, fluid motion, into the wide sash, the obi, tied around your waist, the cutting edge facing upwards, ready for a swift draw. Then you take the wakizaru, the short sword. It is a smaller, more intimate version of the katana, its fittings matching perfectly. This one slides in next to the long sword, a silent, loyal companion. The combined weight of the two swords settles on your hips. It's a comforting weight, but also a constant, physical reminder of who you are and what you represent. You are a samurai, and in this peaceful Edo-Period, these two swords are less a set of weapons and more a complex, multi-layered statement. The right to wear the day's hoe is the single most important privilege of your class. Merchants can be wealthier, nobles can have higher rank, but only you, the samurai, can walk the streets wearing two swords. It is a right you would die to protect. But here's the thing you think about every single morning as you settle the weight of the steel against your body. You have never drawn your katana in anger. You practice your forms, your kata, in the small courtyard, cutting through the air with precision and grace. But its edge, lovingly sharpened and polished, has never tasted blood. This sword is a symbol of a warrior's readiness in a world that no longer requires it. It is like owning a magnificent, fierce hunting dog in a city with no forest. You walk into the main room of your house, and the swords make a soft, clicking sound as you move. This is a sound that commands respect. On the street, commoners will hear that sound and instinctively give you a wide berth. It is the sound of authority, the sound of the right to cut down and leave. The infamous Kiri-sute Gomen, the legal right of a samurai to strike down a commoner who has compromised his honor. But this leads to a strange, almost comical secret of your daily life. While you have this terrifying right in theory, exercising it is another matter entirely. The Osei-ho, a grizzled old samurai who lives down the lane, once explained the reality to you. If you were to actually cut down a merchant for, say, bumping into you and failing to apologize properly, you wouldn't just walk away. You would face a massive bureaucratic headache. There would be an investigation. You would have to provide witnesses. You would have to prove, beyond any doubt, that the offense was severe enough to warrant death. If the magistrate disagreed with your judgment, you could face severe punishment yourself, from forfeiture of your stipend to being ordered to commit seppuku. The paperwork, the OCO grumbled, was more fearsome than any enemy. So the sword you wear is both a symbol of ultimate power and a tool you must, at all costs, avoid using. It is a paradox you carry with you every day. This leads to a fascinating historical debate. How often was the right of Kiri-sute Gomen actually used during the 2.5 centuries of Edo peace? The popular image, from movies and novels, is of samurai cutting down peasants with impunity. But historical records suggest it was an exceedingly rare event. Most historians argue that the threat of the violence was its real power. It was a psychological to love class control, a constant, visible reminder of who was in charge. far more effective than its actual application. Others argue that its rarity was a sign of the success of the system. The commoners were so well-mannered, behaved and respectful that the samurai simply had no need to use it. You adjust the swords one last time. They are perfectly positioned. They are your honor, your burden, your connection to a mythical past, and your ticket to a small, but regular, stipend of rice from your lord. They are heavy with the weight of contradictions. You are a warrior defined by a weapon you must never draw. As you prepare to face your day off, the gentle weight on your hip is a constant companion, a silent reminder of the complicated, and often frustrating, reality of being a samurai in a world without war. With the weight of your swords settled on your hip and the tight pull of the topknot on your scalp, you are now fully dressed in your identity. The next ritual of the morning is sustenance. You slide open the fusuma, the paper minus covered door, and enter the main room of your small house. Your wife, who has been awake since before dawn, bows silently and gestures toward a low lacquered table. This is your dining room, your parlor, your everything. You fold yourself into the formal sei-zi, a kneeling position on a flat cushion. It's a posture that forces straightness into your spine. Another small, constant act of discipline. Your wife moves with a quiet, practiced efficiency, placing a simple tray before you. There is no clatter, no fuss. The meal appears as if by magic, and it is the picture of noble austerity. Before you are 3 small vessels. In a plain wooden bowl, a mound of perfectly steamed white rice, glistening, each grain distinct, sending up a faint, clean curl of steam. In a dark lacquer bowl, a cloudy, savory smelling liquid with a few pieces of green onion and tiny cubes of tofu floating on the surface miso soup. And on a small ceramic dish, 2 or 3 slices of pickled daikon radish, a shocking yellow against the dark pottery. That's it. This is breakfast. This is one soup, one side dish. The rice is a given, the foundation of the meal, not even counted in the formula. You pick up your chopsticks. You take a bite of the rice first. It is warm, slightly sweet, and has a pleasant, chewy texture. It is the taste of substance, of life itself. Then, you lift the miso soup bowl to your lips and take a sip. The flavor is salty, savory, with the deep, fermented taste of the miso paste and the fresh, sharp bite of the green onion. It warms you from the inside out. Finally, you take a piece of the pickled radish. It explodes in your mouth with a sharp, salty, vinegary crunch, a powerful jolt of flavor that cleanses your palate and makes the plain rice taste even sweeter in comparison. You alternate between these 3 components in a quiet, meditative rhythm. Rice, soup, pickle, rice, soup, pickle. There is no conversation. A meal is not a time for idle chatter. It is a time for mindful nourishment. The entire philosophy of the samurai class is sitting here on this tray. It is so kenyaku simplicity, frugality, fortitude. You eat this way not because you are poor, though you are certainly not rich. You eat this way because you are a samurai. To crave rich sauces, exotic flavors, or extravagant variety would be a sign of a weak spirit, the kind of decadent indulgence that lead to the downfall of past regimes. A true warrior, even a peacetime warrior, must maintain a sharp spirit, and that begins with a simple, disciplined stomach. But here is a secret, a dangerous irony, hidden in your beautiful bowl of white rice. Your entire existence is funded by this grain. Your lord doesn't pay you in coin. He pays you in koku, a measurement of rice, supposedly enough to feed 1 man for 1 year. Being able to afford polished white rice, like the kind you are eating now, is a major status symbol. Peasants and poor commoners eat Genpei, the coarser, healthier brown rice, with the bran still attached. Your gleaming white rice is a sign that you are a member of the elite. It is also, unbeknownst to you, slowly killing you. This is one of the great, tragic medical mysteries of your era. A strange disease, a creeping weakness and paralysis known as KAK, is rampant among the city dwelling samurai. It is a disease of the elite, the Edo ailment. What you and your doctors don't know is that the polishing process, which removes the bran to create that beautiful white grain, also removes a vital nutrient thiamine. The peasants, with their inferior brown rice, are unknowingly protecting themselves. Your status symbol, your pristine white rice, is the cause of a debilitating, often fatal, nutritional deficiency. Every bite is a gamble. And this leads to the central, gnawing anxiety of your economic life. A topic scholars of the future will endlessly debate was the stipend system. This economy based entirely on a fluctuating agricultural commodity, an effective method of social control by the shogunate, or was it a deeply flawed, hopelessly rigid system? You are a warrior, but you live in a new cash economy. You must pay rent. You must buy oil for your lamps and clothes for your wife, but you are paid in a currency that you first have to convert. You are perpetually at the mercy of the rice brokers, merchants who you are supposed to despise but secretly depend on. Many samurai, even those of higher rank than you, are trapped in a cycle of debt to these very merchants. They can, in theory, cut down. You finish your last grain of rice. The meal is over. It was nourishing, disciplined, and perfectly aligned with the ideals of your class. It was also nutritionally deficient and a source of constant, low-grade economic terror. You place your chopsticks neatly on the holder. You are fortified for the day ahead, filled with the simple taste of rice and the complex taste of quiet desperation. The simple, austere breakfasts that's in your stomach, a reminder of your disciplined inner world. Now, it is time to venture out into the chaotic, vibrant, and distinctly undisciplined outer world. You slide open the wooden door of your small house and step out into the lane. The air is already filled with the sounds and smells of Edo. This is not just a city. It is one of the largest, most crowded metropolises on the planet. A seething, sprawling organism of wood, paper, and people. Your official reason for leaving the house on your day off is to patrol or to observe. A vague, self-important justification for what is, in reality, a stroll. You are going for a walk, but a samurai does not simply walk. You move with a measured, deliberate gait, your back straight, your hand resting lightly on the hilt of your katana. Your face is a mask of serene indifference, your eyes observing everything while seeming to look at nothing. Your path takes you towards the Nihonbashi district, the bustling commercial heart of the city. Here, the narrow lanes of your samurai quarter give way to wide, teeming thoroughfares. The crowds are a dizzying mix of humanity. Merchants shout their wares. Errand boys dart through the throng, and palanquins carrying wealthy ladies or secretive officials jostle for space. You are a figure of authority here, but you're also just one more drop in an overwhelming ocean of people. Your walk takes you past the entrance to Ukiyo-e, the city's famous pleasure quarter. It is a world minus of self-contained city within the city, a world of tea houses, theaters, and high-ranking courtesans. You see other samurai, some of higher rank, disappearing through its great gates. They have the money and the inclination for the expensive, elaborate rituals of that world. You do not. You are a man of modest means, and the floating world of Ukiyo-e is a luxury liner you can only watch from the shore. You walk past, your face a mask of noble disapproval, but your eyes might just flicker for a moment, catching a glimpse of a colorful kimono or hearing a snatch of music from behind the walls. You continue on, your destination a place that is more your speed, more aligned with your status and your budget, the theater district. Here, the air buzzes with a different kind of energy. The sounds of wooden clappers and the soaring, dramatic declamations of actors spill out from the great Kabuki theaters. Colorful wooden banners, advertising the latest plays and the most famous actors, flutter overhead. You stand in the crowd outside the Nakamura-CA, one of the 3 licensed Kabuki theaters. You watch as wealthy merchants and their families, dressed in their finest, stream inside, ready for a full day of drama, action, and spectacle. Kabuki is the pop culture of your time, a wildly popular form of entertainment. But for a samurai of your rank, it comes with a certain stigma. It is considered a bit gaudy, a bit common, an indulgence of the merchant class. To be seen attending too often would be a sign of a frivolous character. And here you encounter one of the strange, class-based rules of the city. To prevent fights and maintain order, the shogunate has decreed that samurai are not allowed to wear their long swords, their katanas, inside the theater. You would have to check it at the door. The thought of being parted from your primary symbol of identity, of sitting unarmed in a crowded room full of commoners, is deeply unsettling. It is a small but significant humiliation. So you often do what you are doing today. You become a spectator of the spectators. You stand outside, absorbing the energy, looking at the elaborate woodblock-print posters that depict the famous actors in their most dramatic roles. These actors, the onnagata who specialize in female roles and the dashing heroes who play the leads, are the superstars of your day. Their faces as recognizable as any great generals. This is the world of the Ukiyo-e, the floating world. The term originally had a Buddhist connotation, referring to the transient, unreliable nature of mortal life. But, in your era, it has taken on a new meaning. It refers to this new world of urban pleasure, of fashion, of theater, of fleeting delights. It is a world that you, as a samurai, are supposed to be morally superior to, yet one that you cannot help but be fascinated by. Historians will debate the exact relationship between the samurai class and the popular culture of the floating world. Were they truly aloof, disdainful observers, or were they, as the many surviving prints depicting samurai in the pleasure quarters suggest, frequent and enthusiastic participants, their official stoicism a mere public facade? Your patrol has led you to the very edge of this world. You have seen its temptations and its energy, but your code, your budget, and your profound sense of propriety keep you on the outside. Looking in, you have taken the pulse of the great, beating heart of Edo without spending a single coin. Content with this small, vicarious pleasure, you turn away from the theater's clamor and head towards a quieter, more respectable part of the city. The floating world will have to float on without you today. Leaving the noise and bustle of the theater district behind, you find yourself drawn to the quieter, more respectable streets of the Kanda neighborhood. This area is known for two things: its many schools and its countless bookshops. The air here seems calmer, carrying the dry, pleasant, slightly dusty scent of old paper and ink. This is a far more suitable environment for a samurai of refined, if modest, character. You stop before a small shop, its front open to the street. This is a shorin, a bookstore. It's not a grand, imposing library. It's a cluttered space, with shelves packed to the ceiling and precarious stacks of books rising from the floor like wooden stalagmites. A few other customers, a robed scholar, a couple of young students browse in studious silence. This is one of the marvels of your era. Edo is a city that runs on the printed word. Thanks to the widespread use of woodblock printing, books are more accessible than ever before in the history of this niche. The literacy rate, at least here in the city, is remarkably high. This shop is part of a vast, thriving ecosystem of publishers, artists, writers, and readers. You step inside. Your intention, your official story if anyone were to ask, is to browse the Confucian classics or perhaps a new commentary on Sun Tzu's Art of War. You dutifully run your fingers along the spines of these serious, important looking volumes. They are bound in dough, sturdy covers and filled with dense, vertical columns of imposing characters. They radiate an aura of virtue and intellectual rigor. They are also, you have to admit, profoundly boring. Your gaze drifts. It is pulled, as if by an invisible string, to a different set of shelves. These books are not serious or imposing. They are thin, flimsy, and brightly colored, and most of them have brilliant yellow covers. This is the literary candy of your age. This is Kuja's OOS High, grass fiction, and its most popular form, the Kibyōshi, is named for its distinctive yellow covers. These are the comic books, the pulp novels, the satirical magazines of the Edo-Period, all rolled into one. They are cheap, mass-produced, and wildly popular with the common townsfolk. You pick one up. It is light in your hand. The pages are filled with dynamic, expressive woodblock print illustrations. intertwined with flowing, handwritten style text. You start to read. The story is not a deep philosophical treatise. It's a wild, fantastical adventure about a legendary samurai hero with superhuman strength, who single-handedly defeats an army of monstrous demons to rescue a peerlessly beautiful courtesy. The hero is dashing, the demons are grotesque, and the courtesy is impossibly elegant. It is exciting, it is silly, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your real life of filling out paperwork and trying to make your rice stipend last until the end of the season. You glance at another. This one is a comedy, a satirical story about a country bumpkin who comes to Edo and gets into a series of embarrassing situations. The illustrations are funny, almost cartoonish. It pokes fun at the city's fashions, its slang, its various social types. You even see a caricature of a stern, humorless samurai who looks uncomfortably familiar. And here lies a quiet, ongoing debate for literary historians of the future. What was the true social function of this wildly popular fiction? Was it merely harmless escapism, a way for people in a rigid, hierarchical society to blow off steam by reading about impossible heroics and slapstick comedy? Or was it something more subversive? Some scholars argue that these Kibyōshi, written mostly by and for the merchant class, were a safe space to satirize the ruling samurai class. By couching their critiques in humor and fantasy, they could comment on the samurai's perceived arrogance, their financial troubles, and their disconnection from the real life of the city, all without getting into too much trouble with the government censors. Are you reading an adventure story? Or are you reading a sophisticated piece of political satire aimed directly at you? You are torn. To purchase such a thing would be frivolous, but you are captivated. Then you see a man enter the shop with a large, cloth-wrapped box on his back. He is a Kashihonier, a proprietor of a lending library. This is the solution for the truly budget-conscious reader. For a tiny fee, far less than the cost of buying, you can rent a book for a few days. It's a brilliant business model, and these mobile librarians, who circulate books throughout the city, are a vital part of Edo's literary culture. The idea is tempting, but renting feels like a commitment. You just want a small, private taste of this floating world of fiction. You make your decision. You select one of the thinnest, cheapest Kibyōshi. You approach the shopkeeper, trying to look as nonchalant as possible, as if you are purchasing this for a misbehaving nephew. The transaction is swift. You hand over a few small coins. Then, in a practiced, subtle motion, you slide the thin, yellow covered booklet into the wide sleeve of your kimono. It disappears, your own secret. You step back out into the light of the street, your posture as straight and impassive as ever, but hidden in the folds of your sleeve. You can feel the slight weight of the book. It is a small, cheap, frivolous object, and it is the most exciting thing that has happened to you all day. With your secret, yellow covered booklet safely tucked away in your sleeve, you feel a small, illicit thrill. You have acquired a piece of the common world, a temporary escape from the rigidities of your home. You continue your walk, but your destination now has a purpose. It's time for another slightly transgressive act, another crossing of the invisible lines that structure your society. You are going to meet a friend. This in itself is not unusual, but your friend, TTBR, is a merchant. In the grand, tiered hierarchy of your society samurai, farmer, artisan, merchant, he occupies the very bottom rung. Officially, merchants are considered a parasitic class. They do not produce anything tangible like a farmer or an artisan. They simply profit from the work of others. You, the samurai, are at the top, the noble warrior administrators who provide order and justice. You are supposed to hold merchants in mild contempt, but the reality of life in Edo is far more complicated than the official ideology. The merchants are the ones with the real, liquid wealth. They drive the city's economy. They are the patrons of the arts, the theater, the pleasure quarters, and you, like many of your samurai brethren, are secretly in debt to them. This creates a strange, inverted power dynamic. a daily friction between social theory and economic reality. You arrive at a small, quiet tea house in a back alley, far from the main thoroughfares. This is your usual meeting spot, a neutral ground where the strict class divisions of the outside world feel slightly more relaxed. You push aside the short cloth curtain, the Norin, and step inside. Kibyōshi is already there, sitting on a bench, sipping a cup of coarse bancho tea. He is a man of your own age, but his energy is completely different. Where you are trained to be still and reserved, he is animated and expressive. He wears a simple, but well-made, cotton kimono, and instead of 2 swords, he has an abacus and a small ledger tucked into his obi. He sees you and breaks into a wide grin, a display of familiarity that would be unthinkable in a more formal setting. Sensei, he says, using a respectful term that still manages to sound informal and teasing coming from him. You look as serious as a tax collector on your day off. You give an non-committal grunt and sit down, placing your swords carefully beside you. The tea house owner, an old woman who has seen this unlikely friendship blossom over many months, brings you a cup of tea without being asked. And you talk. You talk about everything or nothing. Kibyōshi complains about the rising price of lumber. You complain, in your own stoic way, about the new captain of the guard at your lord's mansion. He tells you a funny, slightly scandalous story he heard about a famous Kabuki actor. You share a piece of dry, political gossip you heard from a fellow samurai. This is what you value in this friendship. Kibyōshi is your window into the real life of the city. He knows how things actually work, not how the official proclamations say they should work. He understands the flow of money, the shifting fashions, the street minus level buzz. He is your intelligence agent in the world of the common man. And what does he get from you? Access and prestige, to be seen having a friendly, casual relationship with a samurai, even a low-ranking one, gives him a degree of social capital. It's a subtle sign to others that he is a man of substance, a man with connections. Your friendship is a quiet, symbiotic, and mutually beneficial violation of the social order. This kind of cross-class fellowship is a fascinating and often overlooked aspect of Edo society. The official Confucian ideology promoted a rigid, static social structure, but the reality of a bustling, dynamic urban center like Edo created countless opportunities for informal mixing. Historians debate the extent and significance of this social fluidity. Was it a sign that the official class system was beginning to break down under the pressures of a commercial economy? Or was it simply a safety valve, a way for the rigid system to accommodate the practical needs of daily life without ever truly challenging the underlying hierarchy? Your friendship with Kibyōshi is a small, living example of this very debate. You then do something truly scandalous. You show him the yellow covered book you bought. Kibyōshi takes it and his eyes wide up. The new JIP Ben's Heike. I hear this one is hilarious. He starts flipping through the pages, laughing at the illustrations. In this moment, you are not a samurai and a merchant. You are just 2 friends, sharing a comic book in a tea house. It is a moment of simple, human connection that defies the rigid categories that are supposed to define you. A strange, slightly shameful thought occurs to you. In some ways, you envy Kibyōshi. His life is not bound by the same strict codes of honor and decorum. He has a freedom that you, for all your status, do not. He can laugh loudly in public. He can wear bright, colorful clothes. He can openly pursue profit. His life seems, in some respects, more real than your own. The time comes to leave. You pay for the tea, or rather, you let Kibyōshi pay. Another small, unspoken reversal of the proper order of things. You step back out into the alley. Once again the impassive samurai. Kibyōshi bows, a little more formally this time, for the benefit of any onlookers. You give a slight, almost imperceptible nod in return. The rules are back in place, but for a short while, in the dim, steamy quiet of the tea house, you are simply 2 men, enjoying a brief respite from the weight of your respective worlds. The afternoon sun is high and hot, beating down on the dusty streets of Edo. The satisfying, if slightly illicit, Meeting with Kibyōshi has left you feeling relaxed. The small anxieties of your life, the weight of your swords, the tightness of your tokma, the precariances of your finances have momentarily receded. You find your steps leading you back towards your own quiet neighborhood. The energy of the city is beginning to drain you. It is time for the most luxurious, most decadent, and most profoundly un-samurai-like activity of your entire day. It is time for a nap. You slide open the door to your house. The interior is cool and dark, a welcome refuge from the glare outside. Your wife is out, perhaps running errands or visiting a neighbor. The house is silent. This is a rare and precious solitude. You unhitch your swords, the day's hoe, from your obi and place them with reverence on their stand. Removing them feels like taking off a heavy coat. The sudden lightness at your hip is a physical relief. For a few brief moments, you are not a samurai. You are just a man in a house. You walk to a closet and pull out your futon and pillow. You don't lay them in the bedroom. You lay them in the main room, the one that catches the best breeze from the small, shaded strip of garden at the back of the house. You lie down on the soft, thick cotton. The tatami mat beneath it is cool and smells faintly of sweet grass. The gentle wind rustles the leaves of the single, small maple tree in your garden, and the sound is deeply soothing. You close your eyes. This, right here, is the ultimate luxury. It's not about wealth or material possessions. It's the luxury of time, the luxury of safety, the luxury of a peace so profound and so enduring that a warrior can, in the middle of the day, lie down in his own home and fall asleep, completely unarmed, without a single thought of being attacked. Your ancestors, the true warriors of the Sengoku period, the age of warring states, would be horrified. For them, sleep was a dangerous necessity, a moment of supreme vulnerability. They would have slept in shifts, one eye open, their hand never far from the hilt of their sword. To sleep so deeply in the daylight would have been suicide. But your world is different. The great peace enforced by the Tokugawa shogunate is held for over a century. The dangers you face are not ambushes and assassins, but debt and boredom. And so, the afternoon nap, the high ruin, has become a quiet, almost secret, institution in the lives of many city-minus dwellers, including samurai like you. And here you engage in a small act of personal rebellion. The strict samurai code, the Bushido, extols the virtues of constant readiness and tireless discipline. A true samurai should always be training, studying, or serving his lord. To indulge in an afternoon nap could be seen as a sign of sloth, of a dulling of the warrior spirit. It is an act of quiet defiance against the idealized image of what you are supposed to be. Historians who study the social history of the Edo-Period are fascinated by this subtle shift in daily life. When did the culture change from one of constant vigilance to one where an afternoon nap was possible? They see it as a key indicator of the psychological impact of the long peace. It represents the slow domestication of the warrior class. The samurai were being transformed from fierce, battle-hardened soldiers into a new role: urban administrators, bureaucrats, and, in a way, professional gentlemen of leisure. The rise of the nap is a sign of the decline of the sword. This is not to say that all samurai indulge. The more zealous, the more ambitious, the more ideologically pure would have certainly looked down upon it. There's a quiet debate among scholars: was napping a widespread, accepted, if unspoken, practice among the samurai class, or was it confined to the lower ranking, less ambitious members like yourself? The men who had accepted their lot and were simply trying to make their quiet lives as pleasant as possible. The historical record is, unsurprisingly, quiet on the matter. Napping is not the kind of activity that makes it into official chronicles. You, however, are not concerned with historical debates. You are concerned with the gentle breeze on your face and the profound, heavy pleasure of your limbs relaxing into the futon. The sounds of the city outside, the cries of vendors, the laughter of children seem very far away. They are the soundtrack to your own personal peace. Your breathing deepens. Your mind, which has been so busy processing the sights and sounds of the city, finally goes quiet. You drift. You are not thinking about honor, or duty, or the price of rice. You are not a samurai. You are not anything. You are just a body, at rest, in a quiet house, on a peaceful afternoon. And in this moment of profound, simple nothingness, you feel a sense of contentment that is deeper and more real than any public display of status could ever provide. You wake up slowly, drifting up from the deep, dreamless well of your nap. The light in the room has changed. The harsh white of midday has softened into a warmer, golden afternoon glow. The shadows are longer. You feel a little groggy, but deeply rest. The nap has reset your day, wiping the slate clean. You fold your futon and put it away, the discipline of your life reasserting itself. You slide open the shoji screen that leads to the back of your house. It's not a grand estate. You don't have sprawling grounds. What you have is at Tsubo-Niwa, a courtyard garden so small that its size is measured in the same unit as a tatami mat. It is a tiny, enclosed rectangle of space, perhaps no bigger than the futon you just slept on. But this tiny space is your own personal universe, a place for another kind of samurai discipline, one that has nothing to do with swords or battle. Your garden is not a riot of colorful flowers. That would be too showy, too ostentatious. Instead, it is a miniature landscape of quiet contemplation. There is a single, carefully chosen rock, its shape evoking a distant mountain, a patch of vibrant green moss, which you cultivate with meticulous care, suggests a lush forest floor. A stone water basin, a tsukuba-e, sits in one corner, its surface reflecting the sky, and raked around the rock is a bed of fine, white gravel, its parallel lines perfectly straight and clean. It is a chaos ansui, a dry landscape garden, an ocean of gravel with an island of stone. This is your sanctuary. You step out onto a flat stepping stone so as not to disturb the gravel. The first thing you do is check the moss. You pick out a single, errant weed that has dared to sprout in the pristine green carpet. This is not gardening, it is editing. Then you turn your attention to another occupant of this tiny space. In a simple, earth-colored ceramic pot sits a single, gnarled pine tree. It is a bonsai. The tree is ancient, perhaps older than you are, yet it is no taller than your knee. Its branches are twisted and bent, not by nature, but by years of your patient intervention. You have used copper wire to guide their growth, to create an idealized, perfect shape, a miniature representation of a great, wind-swept pine clinging to a cliff face. You take a small pair of shears and make a single, precise snip, removing a tiny new shoot that is growing in the wrong direction, upsetting the delicate balance of the composition. Every action is slow, deliberate, considered. This is a conversation with the tree, a dialogue that unfolds over seasons and years. Here, in this tiny garden, you are practicing an art form that has become deeply intertwined with the samurai classes and Buddhism during the long peace. With no wars to fight, many samurai have channeled their warrior discipline into these artistic pursuits. The focus, the patience, the attention to detail required to master swordsmanship are the very same skills required to cultivate a perfect bonsai or rake a perfect gravel sea. It is a way of training the mind, of finding harmony and order in a chaotic world. And here's a curious detail you've learned from a book you once read. The art of bonsai, as you practice it, is a relatively recent development. The older, medieval form often involved simply finding naturally stunted, interesting looking trees in the mountains and bringing them home in a pot. But in your era, it has become a far more active, interventionist art form. It's about shaping, wiring, and aggressively pruning the tree to conform to a specific aesthetic ideal. Historians might debate the philosophical shift this represents. Is it a move from a more passive appreciation of nature's wildness to a more active, human-centered desire to control and perfect it? Is your perfectly shaped tree a symbol of the Tokugawa regime's obsession with imposing order on every aspect of life, right down to the direction a branch grows? You finish your work on the bonsai and pick up the small wooden rake. You carefully, methodically, begin to rake the white gravel, erasing your own footprints, ensuring the lines are perfectly straight, flowing around the mountain rock like the currents of the ocean. The repetitive, rhythmic motion is a form of meditation. Your mind empties. There is only you, the rake, and the loins. Your tiny garden is a microcosm of a larger aesthetic philosophy known as wabi-sabi, appreciation for the beauty in imperfection, transience, and simplicity. The weathered drop, the ancient moss, the gnarled tree, they are all beautiful not in spite of their age and imperfections, but because of them. You step back inside the shoji screen closed. You look out at your perfect, tiny, silent world. It is a landscape of the mind, a place where you are in complete control. Here, in this space no bigger than a few tatami mats, you can create a universe of perfect order and harmony, a welcome antidote to the messy, complicated world of men and money that lies just outside your paper wall. The quiet harmony of your tiny garden has settled your mind, and the golden light of late afternoon tells you that your day of rest is beginning to wane. You decide to take another walk, this time with no particular destination in mind, just a desire to stretch your legs before evening falls. Your path takes you through a part of your samurai quarter you don't often frequent. This area is home to several dojo, training halls for various martial arts. In the past, these would have been bustling, noisy places, filled from dawn till dusk with the sounds of shouting, the clash of bamboo practice swords, and the thud of bodies hitting the floor. They were the engines of the warrior class, forging boys into men. You pass by a kendo dojo, a hall dedicated to the art of the sword. The heavy wooden doors are wide open to catch the afternoon breeze. You pause and look inside, and you are met with a profound and slightly melancholy sight. The dojo is empty. The wooden floor, worn smooth and dark by the bare feet of countless students, is deserted. The rows of practice armor, the boga, sit silent and done, used on their racks. The targets, the shikake minus waza, are pristine. The only sound is the gentle rustle of the wind and the buzz of a lone fly circling in the shafts of dusty sunlight that pierce the gloom. The air smells of old wood, sweat, and disuse. This empty dojo is a powerful, silent symbol of your era. The great peace has been so successful, so complete, that the very institutions designed to prepare men for war are falling into quiet decay. Why would a young samurai spend his days enduring the grueling, painful training of the dojo when his future career will be determined not by his skill with a sword, but by his skill with a brush and an abacus? A beautifully penned document is now more powerful than a perfectly executed cut. You stand there, your hand resting on the hilt of your own sword, and you feel a strange mix of emotions. There is a sense of loss, a nostalgia for a more heroic, purposeful age that you have only ever read about in books like the one hidden in your sleeve. There is also a sense of relief. The emptiness of this dojo is the reason you could take a nap this afternoon, the reason your children will grow up without seeing a battlefield. This silence is the sound of peace. And here's a slightly bizarre secret of the peacetime martial arts world. With the decline of practical, battlefield minus focused training, many dojos have had to adapt to survive. They have become more focused on the do, the way or the path, turning their martial art into a form of spiritual or moral discipline rather than a practical skill. But others have gone in a different direction entirely. You've heard rumors of dojos that have essentially become finishing schools for posturing. They don't teach you how to win a fight. They teach you how to look like you can win a fight. They teach students how to walk with a convincing swagger, how to issue a challenge with the proper theatrical gravitas, and how to master the art of the intimidating stare. It's the martial art of the bluff, a style perfectly suited for an age where honor is contested more often in the streets than on the battlefield. This raises a fascinating debate for historians of martial arts. Did the long peace of the Edo-Period lead to the corruption and degradation of pure combat minus effective martial arts, turning them into stylized, ineffective koto minus dancing, or did it lead to their perfection and spiritualization, freeing them from the brutal pragmatism of war and allowing them to evolve into complex philosophical systems and tools for character development? The empty dojo in front of you could be an argument for either side. It is either a sign of decay or a canvas for a new kind of meaning. You think about your own practice. You swing your sword in the courtyard. You maintain its edge. You honor the traditions passed down to you. But what are you preparing for? A duel of honor is a remote, almost mythical possibility. A war is unthinkable. Your swordsmanship has become a personal art form, a moving meditation, a connection to an identity that feels increasingly abstract. You are a violinist who practices every day for a concert that will never be scheduled. You turn away from the empty dojo, the image of its silent, dusty floor imprinted on your mind. The sun is lower now, and the streets are beginning to fill with people returning from their day's work. Your day of rest is drawing to a close, and you are filled with a strange, uniquely samurai-esque melancholy. It is the quiet sadness of a man perfectly trained for a world that no longer exists. The melancholy of the empty dojo follows you as you walk away, but it's soon replaced by a different set of sensations. As dusk begins to settle, the air grows cooler, and a new smell starts to permeate the streets. The clean, steamy, slightly sulphurous scent of hot water and soap. This is the smell of the Sentō, the neighborhood public bath, and it is calling to you. Your day, for all its leisure, has left you feeling sticky and grimy. The wax in your hair, the sweat from your walks, the dust of Edo streets, it all needs to be washed away. Going to the Sentō is not just about getting clean. It is a fundamental, non-negotiable ritual of urban life, the perfect way to mark the transition from day to night. You arrive at your local bath. It's a modest, unpretentious building with a distinctive high-roofed section to let the steam escape. You push aside the balloon or uncurtain, which has the character for hot water tongue written on it. Inside, you enter a small, bustling changing room. You pay a few coins to the attendant who sits on a raised platform, the bandai, overseeing the entire operation like a captain on the bridge of a steamy ship. And now, you perform the great social equalization. You untie your obi and carefully place your swords, your day's hoe, in a special locker. The attendant gives you a wooden token as a claim checked. This is a crucial step. The bath is a place of peace, and bringing weapons into the bathing area is strictly forbidden. Then, you remove the rest of your clothes, folding them neatly and placing them in a wicker basket. Stripped of your swords, your kimono, and your official identity, you are now just another naked man. You take a small towel, which you use less for drying and more for a modicum of modesty, and you walk through the sliding door into the main bathing hall. The room is a cavern of steam, stone, and sound. The air is so thick with moisture you can barely see the other side of the room. The sound is a cheerful, echoing cacophony, the splash of water, the loud chatter of men, the hollow boom of wooden buckets on the stone floor. The floor is slick with water, and you walk carefully to the washing area. Here, you do not get straight into the bath. That would be a disgusting, unforgivable breach of etiquette. First, you must wash. You take a low wooden stool, a different, far more humble kind of stool than the one you were used to thinking about in the bucket. You squat by a row of faucets and proceed to scrub every inch of your body with a rough cloth and soap. You wash your hair, trying to break down the fortress of wax you constructed this morning. Only when you are completely, thoroughly clean are you permitted to enter the main bath. You slide into the large, communal tub. The water is hot, not just warm, but shockingly, wonderfully hot. For a moment, it takes your breath away. Then, a deep, penetrating warmth seeps into your bones, melting away the day's aches and tensions. You lean your head back against the wooden edge of the tub and let out a soft, involuntary sigh of pure bliss. And you listen. The Sentō is the social hub of the neighborhood. It's the local news channel, the gossip forum, and the community center all rolled into one. A carpenter complains about a difficult client. Two merchants argue good-naturedly about the price of steak. An old man tells a long, rambling story to anyone who will listen. Here, in the great, anonymous soup of the communal bath, the strict class divisions of the outside world are temporarily dissolved. You are sharing the same hot water with the fishmonger, the artisan, and the delivery boy. But even here, a subtle hierarchy exists, and it leads to one of the odd, unwritten rules of the bathish. It is considered extremely bad form to get water on a man's top knot. Your Chonmage, even when wet, is still a symbol of your status. To accidentally splash the top knot of a fellow samurai would be a serious social faux pas. So everyone moves with a certain careful grace, a mutual respect for each other's carefully constructed hairstyles. Historians love the scent because it offers a rare glimpse into the real lives of Edo's people. Official documents record loss and battles, but the bathish is where you can hear the echoes of everyday concerns. They also debate its function. Was the Sentō a true social leveler, a democratic space where class distinctions genuinely disappeared, or was it just a temporary illusion, with the hierarchies being subtly maintained through unwritten rules and codes of conduct, like the top knot minus splashing rule, ready to be fully reinstated the moment everyone put their clothes and swords back on. You soak for a while longer, letting the heat work its magic. You feel clean, relaxed, and oddly connected to the community around you. Here, you are not a samurai on a day off. You are just a resident of Edo, a man of the neighborhood, enjoying a simple, profound, human pleasure. You have been washed clean, not just to the day's grind, but for a short while, of the weight of your own identity. You step out of the bathish, back into the cool night air. Your skin tingles with cleanliness, and the heat of the bath has left you feeling boneless and relaxed. A gentle breeze feels wonderful against you. The weight of the day, both literal and metaphorical, has been washed away, but the bath has also stoked a new fire shot. Honest hunger. The thought of going straight home to another meal of plain rice and pickles feels uninspired. Your day off is almost over, and you crave one last small taste of the city's energy. A simple pleasure that belongs to the world of the street, not the world of formal ceremony. Your feet, seeming to have a mind of their own, lead you towards the flickering glow of a paper lantern down a nearby street. You arrive at a Ukiyo-e, a mobile food stall. It's a simple wooden car, topped with a canvas roof and a clean, white door curtain. A single lantern illuminates the vendor, a weary man who moves with the quick, economical grace of someone who has served thousands of bowls of his specialty. A large pot of water boils furiously, sending a constant plume of steam into the night sky. This is a Soba stand. This is one of the few forms of eating out that is acceptable for a samurai of your standing. It's not a restaurant where you would have to linger on risk, mixing too freely with boisterous merchants. It is fast, it is cheap, and it is purposeful. You sit down on a small wooden bench in front of the cart. There are a few other customers, a couple of artisans on their way home from work, a young apprentice all hunched over their bowls. One take, you say quietly. The vendor nods, already in motion. He grabs a handful of long, brownish minus grey noodles and plunges them into the boiling water for just a moment. He scoops them out with a small bamboo strainer, gives them a practiced flick to remove the excess water, and places them in a simple ceramic bowl. Then he ladles a dough, steaming, fragrant broth over them and finishes it with a deft sprinkle of finely chopped green onions. The whole process takes less than a minute. This is the fast food of Edo. The hot bowl warms your hands. You pick up the chopsticks. The aroma is magnificent, the earth, nutty scent of the buckwheat noodles mingling with the savory, smoky smell of the dashi broth. You bring the bowl close to your face and, as is the custom, you slurp the noodles loudly. The sound, which would be considered rude in a more formal setting, is perfectly acceptable here. It is a sign of enjoyment, and the practical act of drawing in air with the noodles cools them, just enough to be eaten at this furious pace. The taste is sublime in its simplicity. The soba noodles are firm and chewy, a world of texture away from the soft white rice of your breakfast. The broth is a perfect balance of salty soy sauce, sweet mirin, and the deep, oceanic umari of the dried bonito flakes it was made from. It is a deeply satisfying, restorative flavor. You are participating in a culinary revolution. The sheer size and density of Edo, with its huge population of single men samurai on duty, apprentices, laborers, created a massive demand for quick, cheap, and filling meals. Soba, along with tempura and the new, exciting trend of sushi, became the foundation of the world's first true restaurant in street food culture. But, As you slurp your noodles, you are also navigating a complex social landscape, and this is something historians quietly debate. Were these street stalls true democratic spaces, where the classes could mix freely, as they did in the bathhouse? Or did they, in a more subtle way, actually reinforce the class structure? For a wealthy merchant, a Soba stall was a charmingly rustic choice among many options, including lavish restaurants. For you, a lower-ranking samurai, it was one of your only acceptable options. To be seen dining in a fancy establishment that catered to the merchant class would be a blow to your dignity. The quick, anonymous, stand-up nature of the yota allows you to eat in public without compromising your status. It is a culinary loophole. You finish your bowl in a few minutes, drinking the last of the delicious broth directly from the bowl. You feel warm, full, and content. You place a few coins on the counter. The meal costs next to nothing. Give the vendor a slight nod and stand up. The interaction was brief, anonymous, and deeply satisfying. It was a perfect moment of Heike, that untranslatable Edo ideal of chic. Understated, effortless coolness. You didn't linger. You didn't make a scene. You simply appeared, enjoyed a perfect, simple meal, and disappeared back into the night. It was a small, perfect taste of the floating world. And now, it is time to go home. You walk home through the darkened lanes of your neighborhood, the satisfying warmth of the Soba still in your belly. The city is quieter now. Most of the shops have closed, their wooden shutters drawn. The only light comes from the occasional paper lantern hanging outside a house or the faint, ghostly glow of the moon. As you approach your own small house, you hear a sound from inside that immediately puts you on edge. It's a faint, frantic, scratching sound. Eye skittering. Your hand instinctively goes to the hilt of your sword. An intruder? No. The sound is too small, too furtive. You slide open the door and step inside. The main room is empty, just as you left it. The scratching sound comes again, this time from the direction of the small kitchen area. You move silently, your feet making no sound on the tatami mats. You peer around the corner, and you see the culprit. A large, bald rat is attempting to chew its way into your small sack of rice. Your first instinct is a flash of warrior rage. You could draw your wakazaisen with a single, swift stroke, end the creature's thieving life. It would be a messy, undignified business, but satisfying. But then a second, more practical thought follows. This is not the only rat in Edo. The city is teeming with them. They are a constant, gnawing menace, a threat to every household's precious food supply. Killing this one solves nothing. You need a more permanent solution. You need a professional. You sigh. Your peaceful evening is about to be interrupted by one of the strangest and most necessary errands in all of Edo. You are going to rent a cat. You relight a small lantern and head back out into the night. Your destination is a specific kind of establishment you had hoped not to have to visit again so soon. It is a business that could only exist in a city as strange and populous as this one. After a short walk, you find it a small house with a crudely painted sign outside depicting a cat with a fierce expression. You enter. The air inside is thick with a smell that is unique in your experience, the unmistakable, musky, slightly ammoniac odor of many cats. The proprietor, a wary old woman with shrewd, cat-like eyes, looks up from the abacus she is clicking away at. "A brown tabby for the night?" she asks, before you've even said a word. "Good hunter, very focused, 3 coins. But I have a new calico, very fashionable, a little lazy, but she will certainly scare the rats away with her sheer presence." This is the bizarre reality of pest control in your world. Cats are not common pets. They are highly valued, professional hunters, and because they are so valuable, an entire industry has sprung up around renting them out. It's a lending library, but for predators, you can rent a cat for a night, a week, or even a season, depending on the severity of your rat problem and the depth of your pockets. You opt for the brown tabby, efficiency over fashion. The old woman nods, takes your coins, and disappears into a back room. You hear a series of me wasn't a bit of hissing. She returns holding a lean, muscular looking cat with intelligent green eyes. The cat looks at you with an expression of profound indifference. It is a professional, and you are just another client. She hands you the cat, along with a simple leash made of braided cord. As you walk home, with the cat trotting silently beside you on its leash, you contemplate the absurdity of the situation. You are a samurai, a member of the ruling warrior class, walking through the streets of one of the world's great capitals, holding a cat on a string. This truly unique historical practice of cat miners renting in Edo, Japan is a source of delight for social historians. It speaks volumes about the city's practical, unsentimental approach to life, but it also raises some interesting questions that are still debated. Why were cats so rare and valuable in the first place? Some theories suggest that Japan's native cat population was small, and that most cats were imports. Their numbers kept low by the fact that they were not allowed to roam freely and breed, lest they get lost or stolen. Another theory, a more charming one, suggests that the demand was partly created by the Ukiyo-e minor sea artists. Woodblock prints by artists like Tokugawa Kibyōshi, which depicted cats in all sorts of charming and heroic situations, became so popular that they created a cat boom, driving up the price and stats of the animals and making renting the only affordable option for many. You arrive back at your house and release the tabby inside. It doesn't explore. It doesn't rub against your legs. It simply sits in the center of the room, its tail twitching, its ears swiveling, scanning the environment with a cold, professional focus. It is on the job. You settle down for the evening, feeling a strange sense of security. You are protected by your two swords, the symbols of your honor, and by a rented tabby cat, the symbol of your desperate, ongoing war against vermin. In this moment, you're not sure which of them is the more practical weapon for life in peaceful Edo. The silent, efficient hunter now stalking the shadows of your kitchen seems, at least for tonight, far more relevant to your well-minus being than the gleaming, unused blade at your side. The rented cat has taken up its post, a silent, very sentinel against the forces of rodent chaos. The house is quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet, a watchful, expectant silence. You have done all you can do about the rat problem for now. It is time to turn your attention to the final, contemplative rituals of the evening. You find your small, personal writing box. It's a beautiful lacquered object, a gift from your father, containing an inkstone, an inkstick, a small water dropper, and a set of fine brushes. You carry it to the edge of the NAWA, the narrow veranda that runs along the back of your house, overlooking your tiny garden. Use it, your legs tucked beneath you. The moon is nearly full tonight, and its cool, silver light washes over the raked white gravel and the dark, twisted shape of your bonsai pine. It is a perfect, tranquil scene. You pour a few drops of water onto the inkstone and begin to grind the inkstick against the wet stone in a slow, circular motion. The process is meditative. The friction releases the particles of soot from the hardened glue of the inkstick, and a thick, dark, fragrant ink begins to pool on the stone. The smell of the ink leaf, earthy, slightly woody scent is the smell of concentration, of culture, of a quiet mind. You are not writing a report for your lord or balancing your household accounts. You are engaging in another pastime that has become deeply ingrained in the culture of your class. You are going to attempt to write a haiku. This is not as simple as it sounds. The form is strict a 3-line poem with a pattern of 5, 7, and 5 syllables. But the real challenge is not the structure, it's the spirit. A good haiku must capture a single, fleeting moment, a sudden insight, a connection between your inner world and the natural world outside. It must be simple, yet profound. It must hint at a deeper truth without stating it outright. You look out at the moonlit garden. You think about your day, the tight pull of your top knot, the weight of your swords, the noise of a city, the shared tea with Kibyōshi, the heat of the bar, the taste of the Soba, the startling appearance of the rat, the cold, professional eyes of the rented cat. Your day has been a jumble of sensations, duties, and small rebellions, How can you capture any of it in 17 syllables? You dip your brush in the fresh, dark ink. You hold it poised over a small slip of paper. Your mind goes blank. This is the struggle of the amateur poet. And in your era, almost every educated person is an amateur poet. Poetry is not just for professional artists. It is a social grace, a way of communicating with elegance and wit. People exchange poems, hold poetry minus writing parties, and take immense pride in their ability to turn a clever phrase. For a samurai, whose life is supposed to be one of martial discipline, the talent for poetry is a sign of a refined, sensitive soul. It is the other side of the warrior coin, the bun, the art that must balance the bu, the martial. And here lies a small, internal conflict that historians of literature and culture find fascinating. Does this widespread popularization of poetry, particularly haiku, lead to its golden age or its dilution? The great master, Matsuo Beisho, lived a century before you. He turned the haiku from a light, witty verse form into a vehicle for profound spiritual and philosophical exploration. Now, in your time, everyone is doing it. Does this mean the art form is thriving, becoming a truly democratic form of expression? Or does it mean that it is becoming a cliché, a parlor game, with thousands of samurai like you churning out mediocre verses about the moon and the cherry blossoms? Is this the peak of a tradition, or the beginning of its decline into comfortable convention? You try a line. Silver moon on gravel, 5 syllables. Good start. Now for the middle part, the 7 syllables. You think of the cat, the silent hunter now patrolling your kitchen. The cat's green eyes watch. They bit to direct. You wipe the brush and think again. The key is the juxtaposition, a cutting word kiraiji that creates a space for the reader's imagination. Let's try again. The bright moon tonight, a classic opening, 5 syllables. In the kitchen's dark corner, 7 syllables. That's a scene. Eye hunter's cold stare, 5 syllables. The reveal. It's not perfect. It's certainly not bourgeois. It's a simple, straightforward observation, but it captures a piece of your evening. It connects the great, serene beauty of the moonlit garden with the small, pragmatic, slightly absurd reality of your rented pest controller. It is a snapshot of your life as a samurai in peaceful Edo, 1 part philosophical moon minus gazing, 1 part dealing with vermin. You read the small poem over to yourself. A faint smile touches your lips. It will do. You have successfully performed your cultural duty. You have observed the world, reflected upon it, and distilled it into 17 syllables. You place the small piece of paper down to dry, the black ink stark against the white, a tiny monument to an ordinary day. The haiku is written, a small, neat monument to your day's fleeting moments. The ink is drying in the cool night air. Now, with your artistic and contemplative duties fulfilled, it is time for the final, and in some ways most sacred, ritual of your day. It is time to attend to your swords. This is not a task to be rushed. It is a slow, methodical, almost religious ceremony. You bring a special kit from a wooden box. It contains several small silk cloths, a bowl of fine powder in a silk pouch, and a bottle of choji oil, which has a faint, pleasant clove-minus-like scent. You sit once more in the formal say hi's DA position. You take the katana first. With a deep breath, you perform the motion you have practiced thousands of times. You draw the blade from its scabbard. The sound is a soft, satisfying sure, the sound of perfectly fitted wood against polished steel. The blade emerges into the moonlight, and it seems to drink the light, reflecting it in a cold, impossibly bright line. This is the hamon, the tempo line, a wavy, cloud-minus-like pattern along the edge of the blade that is the signature of the swordsmith. It is the result of the complex process of forging and quenching, where clay is applied to the blade before it is heated and plunged into water, creating an edge that is incredibly hard while the spine remains softer and more flexible. It is the soul of the sword, made visible. You hold the blade, admiring it for a moment. This is a piece of art, the culmination of centuries of metallurgical science and artistic tradition. It is also a deadly weapon. You feel the familiar, thrilling cognitive dissonance of your life. You are a peaceful man holding an instrument of perfect violence. Now, the cleaning begins. First, you take a piece of soft rice paper and wipe the blade down, from the hilt to the tip, in a single, careful motion. This removes any old oil or dust. You never touch the blade with your bare hands. The oils from your skin can cause it to rust. Next, you take the powder bowl, the Ukiyo-e. This is a small silk bowl filled with the powder of a specific type of polishing stone, the Ukiyo-e. You gently tap the bowl along the length of the blade, leaving a fine, chalky minus white dust. This powder is a very mild abrasive that will clean the steel and absorb any remaining oil. Then, with a new, clean silk cloth, you carefully wipe the powder away. Again in long, smooth strokes, the steel beneath is revealed, brighter, cleaner. Its complex, layered patterns, the hotter, or grain, now more visible. The final step is oiling. You take another cloth, apply a few drops of the choji oil, and wipe a very thin, even layer over the entire surface of the blade. This will protect it from the humid air and prevent rust, the eternal enemy of steel. And here you engage in a small, private ritual that your sword master taught you, a little piece of esoteric lore. As you oil the blade, you are supposed to clear your mind and think only of the spirit of the sword. But he also told you a secret: check the oil. If the oil beads up in a strange way, or seems to run off a particular section of the blade too quickly, it could be a sign that the spirit of that part of the blade is unsettled. This, he said, could be a bad omen, or as you now suspect, it could just be a very practical, pre-modern way of detecting a tiny, imperceptible patch of rust or impurity on the steel that needs extra attention. The spiritual explanation provides a framework for a very pragmatic piece of preventative maintenance. The historical debate among collectors and historians of the Japanese sword is endless. They argue about the work of different schools, the meaning of different patterns in the steel, the precise methods used by legendary wordsmiths. But one of the most interesting debates is about the very thing you are doing now: maintenance. How did the average samurai, with limited resources, truly care for his blades? The elaborate, multi-stage polishing process done by a professional tajish was incredibly expensive and only done every few years. If that, your nightly ritual is the routine. First aid that keeps the blade alive between those professional treatments. Was this nightly oiling a universal practice, or was it only the most dedicated, a -5 samurai who took the time? You finish oiling the kotono and carefully slide it back into its scabbard. The soft click as the hilt guard, the tsuba, meets the mouth of the scabbard as a sound of finality, of safety. You then repeat the entire, painstaking process with your short sword, the Ukiyo-e. Both swords are now clean, oiled, and safe. You place them back on their stand. They gleam in the darkness. Two sleeping predators. They have not been used today. They will likely not be used tomorrow. But they are ready. And in your world, being ready is everything. You have attended to their bodies. You have honored their spirits. Your final duty of the day is complete. The swords are clean. The house is quiet. The rented cat is on patrol. You have performed all the duties of a respectable samurai on his day off. A sense of weary satisfaction settles over you. You have navigated the complexities of your world, the public posturing, the private pleasures, the internal conflicts with practiced grace. You are a man in control of his small universe. And then your wife comes home. She slides open the front door, her arms full of a wicker basket from the market. She moves into the main room. Her presence, immediately changing the atmosphere. The quiet, contemplative, masculine space you have been inhabiting is instantly transformed into a shared, domestic one. She bows to you, as is proper, but then she sighs, a deep, weary sigh that you know all too well. It is a sigh that carries more weight than any ministerial decree. The price of rice has gone up again, she says, her voice quiet but laced with frustration. The broker at the market says the harvest in the north was poor, another half a coin for the same measure as last week. And just like that, the noble, moon-gazing, Heike-writing samurai vanishes. In his place sits a husband, a man with a household budget, a man whose fixed income is being steadily eroded by forces completely beyond his control. You feel a familiar, sinking feeling in your stomach. Your stipend, your precious koku of rice, is calculated a fixed rate, but you live in a world of fluctuating market prices. This simple fact is the source of the deepest, most persistent anxiety in your life. Your wife continues, her voice a low, steady stream of domestic realities. The price of lamp oil is up. The soy sauce is running low. The neighbors are having their roof retiled. A display of prosperity that feels like a personal accusation. She asks if your lord's winter bonus will be as generous this year as it was last year. You both know it probably won't be. You listen, your face a carefully maintained mask of stoic calm, but inside, your mind is racing. You are doing the mental arithmetic that is the secret shame of your class. Another half a coin for rice. That means no visiting the storyteller next week. The leaky spot in your own roof will have to wait another season. Perhaps you can get by with a slightly cheaper grade of charcoal for the brazier. This is the great, unwritten story of the samurai in your era. It's a story not of heroic battles, but of quiet, desperate, domestic bookkeeping. For all your status, for all your pride, for all the fear your two swords might inspire on the street, you are trapped. You are forbidden by law from engaging in commerce. To become a merchant, to open a shop, to sully your hands with dirty money would be to lose your samurai status. An unthinkable disgrace. You are a member of the ruling class who is, in many cases, poorer than the people you are supposed to be ruling. And here's a truly bizarre, almost cruel, detail of your situation. Because you are a samurai, you are subject to some PT-era laws. You are expected to maintain a certain standard of living. Your clothes must be made of silk, not cotton like a merchant. Your house must be in a certain district. You must spend money on ceremonial occasions. You are forced by the government to project an image of prosperity that your government minus paid salary can barely support. It is a state minus mandated performance of a comfortable life that is, for many, a fiction. The economic plight of the lower minus ranking samurai is a central theme for historians studying the decline of the Tokugawa shogunate. They debate the long minus term effects of this systemic impoverishment. Did it breed resentment against the regime? Did it force samurai into a closer, more dependent relationship with the merchant class they officially despised, thus blurring the very class lines the system was designed to uphold? Some scholars argue that this financial desperation was a key factor that led many samurai to join the reformist movements that would eventually overthrow the shogunate half a century later. Your personal, private money worries are, in fact, a symptom of a much larger, nation-shaking historical process. Your wife finishes her report. She's not nagging. She's your partner, your household manager, your finance minister. She is simply stating the facts of your shared existence. She looks at you, waiting for an answer, a solution. You have none. You are a man trained to solve problems with a sword, but you cannot cut down the price of rice. You can only do what countless other samurai are doing in their own small houses all across Edo tonight. You nod gravely. You project an air of quiet authority, and you promise to be more frugal. The brief, beautiful illusion of your day off the serene garden, the thrilling book, the noble art of the sword has evaporated. You are back in the real world, and the real world is a world of bills, budgets, and the ever-present, humbling power of a single grain of rice. The conversation about household finances has left a familiar, low-grade tension in the air. The grand, abstract worries of a samurai honor, discipline, the legacy of your ancestors have been temporarily replaced by the small, sharp, concrete worries of a husband and a householder. The silence in the room is heavy. It needs to be filled with something quiet, something orderly, something that can restore a sense of control. Your wife, seeming to understand this, slides open a small chest and takes out a wooden board and 2 bowls filled with black and white stones. It is a Go-bear, a Go board. She places it on the low table between you. I don't, she asks softly. It is the perfect suggestion. You and your wife are not just partners in finance. You are rivals in strategy. Go is a game you have both played since childhood. It is a game of immense complexity. A war of position and influence fought with smooth, cool stone. It is the perfect pastime for the samurai mind. You take the bowl of black stones, as is traditional. You, the less skilled player in this household, will go first. You pick up a single, black stone. It feels cool and heavy between your fingers. You place it on the grid. At one of the intersections, the sharp click of the stone on the wood is a satisfying, definitive sound. It is a single, simple action that will have consequences that ripple across the entire game. Your wife, taking the white stones, studies the board. Her expression is serene, but you know her mind is sharp, already calculating possibilities, seeing patterns you have not yet imagined. She places her white stone in a different corner of the board. A response, a challenge, and so the game begins. You play in near-minus silence. The only sounds the rhythmic click-minus-clack of the stones on the board. Each move is a statement. Are you aggressive, trying to build a large territory quickly? Or are you patient, building strong, unkillable groups of stones? The game is a mirror. It reflects your personality, your mood, your state of mind. Tonight, you find yourself playing cautiously, defensively, your earlier financial anxieties translating into a desire to build safe, solid walls on the board. The game of Go, along with its more dynamic cousin, Soju Japanese chess, is more than just a game in your culture. It is an art form, a mental discipline. It is considered an essential part of a well-rounded samurai's education. It teaches strategy, patience, foresight, and the ability to see the larger picture. Many of the great warlords of the past were also legendary Go players. To play Go is to train your mind for battle, even if that battle is now fought over the price of rice rather than a castle. But here's a charming detail about the game you are playing. While you are using simple, functional stones made of slate and clamshell, the truly wealthy daimyo and the shogun himself play with sets that are treasures in their own right. The bowls are made of rare mulberry wood. The board is carved from a single, ancient block of kaya wood, which is prized for its beautiful golden color, its fine grain, and the resonant, musical click it produces when a stone is played on it. A true kaya Go board is said to take centuries to properly dry and can be more valuable than a stable of fine horses. As you play, the world outside the 19x19 grid of the board begins to fade away. The worries about your budget, the anxieties of your status, they are all forgotten. There is only the board. There is only the sun, unfolding battle of black and white. Your mind is completely absorbed in the intricate patterns, the subtle threads, the delicate balance of power. This is the ultimate form of escapism, a journey into a world of pure, abstract strategy. Historians who study the culture of games see this widespread devotion to Go as a key element of the Edo-Period's social fabric. It was a shared language that could cross class lines. While your friendship with the merchant Kibyōshi was unusual, a game of Go was a more socially acceptable way to interact. A samurai could, without loss of dignity, play a game against a wealthy farmer or even a skilled artisan. On the board, at least in theory, only skill mattered, not rank. But, of course, they also debate this. Did this ideal of equality on the board truly exist? Or did a lower minus class player always feel the pressure to, perhaps, not win too decisively against a high minus ranking samurai opponent? The game continues. Your wife, with a few brilliantly placed stones, captures a large group of your black stones, a group you thought was safe. You lift the dead stones from the board with a sigh. She has outplayed you again. Her mind, unburdened by the need to practice sword forms, is simply sharper at this kind of strategic thinking. You feel a flash of irritation, the competitive warrior instinct flaring up. but it passes quickly, replaced by a grudging admiration. You play on, but you both know the outcome is now almost certain. It doesn't matter. The game has served its purpose. It has quieted your minds. It has replaced the chaotic anxieties of the real world with the clean, logical, solvable problems of the board. It has, for a short while, restored a sense of order to your universe. The Go game is finished. Your wife has won, as she often does. You surrender with a good-natured grumble, the small, contained defeat of the game having somehow soothed the larger, more formless anxieties of your life. The quiet rhythm of the evening has been restored. It is time to prepare for bed, to bring your day of rest to a close. But there is one final, crucial chore to be performed. It is a task so ingrained, so automatic, that you do it every single night without fail. It is the most important safety check in any Edo household, far more critical than locking the door. You must prepare for fire. You get up and walk to the entrance of your small house. There, just inside the door, are 2 large wooden buckets, filled to the brim with water. You check them. The water is fresh. Next to them are a thick, heavy duty broom and a long wooden pole with a hook on the end. This is your personal, miniature fire station. You then do a quick tour of your tiny home. The single oil lamp is extinguished, plunging the room into the soft darkness of moonlight. You check the small charcoal brazier, the hibachi, making absolutely sure that the last embers are dead and cold. You slide the heavy wooden shutters, the omado, along their tracks, closing your house off from the outside world. As you perform these simple, mundane tasks, you feel a familiar, low-level thrum of fear. It is a fear that is bred into every single resident of this city. Edo is a city made of wood, paper, and bamboo. It is a tinderbox, and the flowers of Edo, as they are cynically called, are the frequent, spectacular, and utterly devastating fires that sweep through its crowded neighborhoods. A small fire, started by a knocked over candle or an errant spark from a cooking stove, can, with the help of a strong wind, become a raging inferno in a matter of minutes, consuming entire city blocks, leaving thousands homeless or worse. Your small wooden house would stand no chance. So, this nightly ritual is your only defense. The water buckets are not for putting out your own house if it catches fire by then. It would be too late. They are for dousing the roof and walls to prevent sparks from a neighboring fire from igniting your own home. The broom is for beating out small embers that land on your roof. The hooked pole is for tearing down parts of your own house to create a firebreak. A desperate, last-ditch effort to save the rest of the block. And here you think of a truly strange and unique feature of your city's culture, the celebrity fireman. Firefighting in Edo is not a municipal service. It is done by neighborhood brigades, the Heike. These men are not professionals in the modern sense. They are usually carpenters, roofers, and other tough, working class men. And they are the rock stars of the city. They are known for their elaborate, full body tattoos, which they believe offer magical protection from the flames. Each brigade has its own distinctive banner, the motto, the large, 3-dimensional standard. When a fire breaks out, the brigades race to the scene. But their first priority is not always to put out the fire. Their first priority is to get their motto onto the roof of a building adjacent to the fire, claiming that territory as their own. It is a fierce, often violent, competition. The brigade that successfully stops the fires spread at their chosen score and bragging rights. Sometimes, rival brigades will fight each other in the street for the honor of tackling a particular section of the blaze, while the fire itself rages on. This leads to one of the central debates for historians studying urban life in Edo. Was this competitive, privatized system of firefighting an effective way to mobilize manpower and to create a highly motivated, if unruly, force? Or was it a chaotic, deeply inefficient system where inter-brigade rivalry often got in the way of actually saving the city? The fact that Edo continued to burn down and be rebuilt with astonishing regularity suggests the system had its flaws. You, of course, are not thinking about historical debate. You are thinking about the terrifying sound of the fire alarm bell, a frantic, clanging peal that can jolt you from the deepest sleep. You are thinking about the smell of smoke, the orange glow in the night sky. You are thinking about the fact that your entire material world, your house, your clothes, your writing box, your wife's kimono could be reduced to a pile of ash in less than an hour. Your sword, your symbol of status, and your secret pulp-fiction booklet would be consumed with equal indifference by the flames. You complete your checks. The water buckets are full. The embers are dead. Everything is as secure as it can be. You have done all you can. The rest is up to fate and the questionable efficiency of your local tattooed firefighters. You slide the final screen closed, the fear subsiding, replaced by a weary resignation. This is simply the price of living in this great, beautiful, and terrifyingly flammable wooden city. The house is secured against the ever-present threat of fire. The city outside has fallen into a deeper quiet. The last of the late-night wanderers have found their way home. It is time for the final act of your day off, a small, private ritual of comfort and release. It is time for a sip of sake. You do not keep a large supply. That would be a sign of indulgence. And besides, you can't afford it, but you have a small ceramic Kibyōshi, a flask, filled with a simple, unpretentious sake from the local shop. You take this under single, tiny, ocho-ko-sized cup to the NAWA. You don't drink it cold, that is for the summer months. Tonight, the air has a slight chill, so you perform the comforting ritual of warming the sake. You have a small, portable brazier with a few pieces of charcoal still glowing faintly. You place a small metal pot filled with water over the coals and set the 2 Kibyōshi inside it, creating a gentle water bath. You wait patiently, your hand resting on the flask, feeling it slowly, gradually warm up to the perfect temperature, not hot, but pleasantly, soothingly warm. The process itself is a pleasure. It is a slow, deliberate act that forces you to be present, to pay attention. When the flask is just right, you pour a small amount into the tiny cup. The warm, fragrant steam rises to meet you. It has a sweet, fruity, slightly yeasty aroma, a smell that is intrinsically linked in your mind with relaxation and the end of the day. You take a sip. The warm liquid spreads through your chest, a gentle, booming heat that is completely different from the sharp burn of the cheap shoku that common laborers drink. The taste is mild, slightly sweet from the rice it was brewed from, with a clean, smooth finish. It is not a complex flavor, but it is a deeply comforting one. It is the taste of grain, of water, of the patient work of microorganisms. It is the taste of civilization. You sip slowly, making the small cup last. You are not drinking to get drunk. That would be a loss of control, a shameful display for a samurai. A man of your class must always be master of himself. You are drinking to unwind, to soften the sharp edges of the day, to quiet the lingering anxieties about money and status. Each small sip is a punctuation mark, a full stop at the end of a long and complicated sentence. And as you drink, you think about the strange, shifting status of this beverage. In the grand, heroic tales, sake is the drink of warriors. They share great, ceremonial cups of it before a decisive battle, pledging their loyalty and their lives. It is a sacred, communal drink, a binder of oaths. But in your peaceful, bureaucratic world, it has taken on a different role. It is the social lubricant of government and business. Deals are struck, promotions are negotiated, and favors are asked over endless cups of sake at formal banquets. To be a successful official, you must be a skillful drinker, able to hold your liquor while subtly outmaneuvering your rivals. This leads to a quiet debate among social historians. Did the institutionalization of sake-drinking in the bureaucracy of the Edo-Period help to foster camaraderie and smooth the workings of a complex government? Or did it lead to a culture of endemic, low-level alcoholism, where men were forced to drink to excess simply to keep their jobs, their health suffering in quiet desperation? The countless liver-reviving tonics sold by Edo's apothecaries suggest that it was, at the very least, a widespread occupational hazard. You are blessedly free from that world of high-minus stakes carousing. Your small, solitary cup has no political purpose. It is a purely personal pleasure. And here you indulge in a tiny, secret piece of folk wisdom. It is said that if you have a particularly difficult worry on your mind, you should whisper it into your sake cup before you drink. The spirit of the rice will absorb the worry, and as you drink it will be dissolved, warmed away into nothingness. You look into your tiny cup. The warm sake reflects the pale light of the moon. You think of the rat, the price of rice, the emptiness of the dojo. You don't whisper the words aloud, but you think them. You think of all the small, sharp pebbles of anxiety that line the bottom of your orderly life. Then you take the final sip. The cup is empty. The sake is gone. You don't know if your worries have been magically dissolved, but you do feel calmer. The warm, gentle haze of the alcohol has created a small, soft buffer between you and the world. It is enough. The ritual is complete. You are ready for sleep. The single, small cup of warm sake has done its work. A pleasant, gentle drowsiness has settled over you. Your mind is quiet. Your body is relaxed. The house is silent except for the faint, rhythmic sound of your wife's breathing from her own futon across the room. It is time for the final surrender to the night. You slide into your futon, the cool cotton a welcome sensation. You pull the thick, heavy quilt over you, but as you lie there, on the edge of sleep, you hear a small voice from the other side of a paper screen. Father, it is your son. He is young, perhaps 6 or 7 years old, and he is supposed to be asleep. You sigh, but it is a sigh of affection, not irritation. What is it? You ask, your voice a low whisper. I cannot sleep, the small voice says. The wind sounds like a goblin. You smile in the darkness. You know what he wants. Very well, you say. One story, then you must sleep. You hear a happy rustle as he settles down on his own futon, ready to listen. You lie on your back, staring up at the dark ceiling, and you reach back into the great storehouse of tales that every person of your nation carries with them. You are not going to tell him a story about your day. You are not going to tell him about the price of rice or the proper way to polish a sword. You are going to give him a gift. You are going to give him a glimpse of the world you are supposed to represent, the world of the warrior ideal. You begin the story of Minamoto no Yoshitani, the brilliant, tragic hero of a bygone age. You don't tell it like a dry historical account. You tell it like a legend. Your voice takes on a low, dramatic cadence. You describe Yoshitani as a young man, so graceful and light on his feet that he could duel with the giant warrior minus monk Benkai on the Gojo Bridge in Kyoto, leaping and dancing on the bridge's railing like a swallow. You describe the flash of his sword in the moonlight, the fierce loyalty of his retainers. You tell your son about the great Genpei War, a time of true, epic conflict. You describe the clash of armies, the thunder of horses' hoofs, the brilliant colors of the banners snapping in the wind. You tell him about the great naval battle of Dan-No-Ukiyo-e, where Yoshitsune, with his brilliant, unconventional tactics, led his clan to a decisive victory, a victory that would shape the course of the nation's history. As you speak, you paint a picture of a samurai who is everything you are not. Yoshitsune is a man of action, not bureaucracy. He makes decisions on the battlefield, not in a committee meeting. His life is one of constant, glorious, meaningful violence. He is a warrior who actually gets to be a warrior. And here you touch upon a subject that will be endlessly fascinating to future storytellers and historians: the creation of the samurai myth. The tales you are telling, the legends of heroes like Yoshitsune, were compiled and romanticized long after the events themselves. In your peaceful Edo-Period, these stories have become more popular and more important than ever. They are the entertainment of the age, told by professional storytellers, depicted in woodblock prints, and performed in the Kabuki theater. Why? Historians debate this very question. Was this obsession with the violent, heroic past a form of nostalgia, a way for a domesticated samurai class to connect with a more authentic version of their own identity? Was it a form of propaganda, encouraged by the shogunate to reinforce the ideals of loyalty and self-sacrifice that were necessary to maintain their own power? Or was it simply that a good story is a good story, and that people in a peaceful, orderly, and often boring society crave tales of excitement, danger, and high adventure? You leave out the end of Yoshitsune's story. You don't tell your son about the betrayal by his own brother, the jealous shogun Yoritomo. You don't describe his final, tragic years as a hunted fugitive, or his ultimate, heartbreaking defeat. That is a story for another time, a lesson about the cruelties of politics that he is still too young to understand. Tonight, you give him only the glory. You hear the sound of your son's breathing, which has become slow, deep, and even. He has fallen asleep, his head filled with images of flashing swords and leaping heroes. You stop speaking. The silence returns to the room, but now it is filled with the faint, heroic echoes of the past. You lie there, thinking about the immense gap between the samurai of the stories and the samurai of reality. You are the custodian of this myth, the storyteller who passes it on to the next generation. But your own life is a quiet refutation of everything the myth stands for. You are a living paradox, a peaceful warrior, a bureaucrat with the soul of a hero. And as you finally let yourself drift off to sleep, you are not sure whether you are the proud inheritor of a noble tradition, or just the weary curator of its beautiful, dusty, and long minus empty museum. Your son is asleep, dreaming heroic dreams. Your wife is a quiet presence in the darkness beside you. The house is secure. The rented cat a silent shadow on its nightly patrol. The steak has warmed your belly. The story has settled your mind. Your long day of rest, with all its tiny rituals and hidden anxieties, is finally over. There is only one thing left to do. You reach out from under your futon and touch the sword stand beside your sleeping mat. Your fingers brush against the cool, silk-wrapped hilt of your katana, and then the smaller hilt of the wakizaya's. For the entire day, even in moments of relaxation, you have been wearing these swords. They have been a part of you, a physical extension of your identity, a weight on your hip that has shaped your every movement and interaction. Even when you placed them on the stand to take your nap, they were still on duty, a silent, potent presence in the room. But now, it is different. Now, it is time for the final, most intimate act of the day. It is time for you, the samurai, to disarm not just your body, but your mind. In your head, you perform one last ritual. You visualize yourself carefully, reverently, lifting the two swords from their stand. You see yourself placing them in a lock, thick your chest. You turn the key. You are symbolically, mentally, putting them away for the night. You are giving yourself permission to be completely, utterly at rest. You are Shisa taking off, Shisa the armor. This mental ritual is a quiet, personal practice, but it reflects a larger philosophical concept that has taken root in your peaceful era. The old warrior codes were about constant readiness, about sleeping with your hand on your sword. The new, evolving code for a peacetime samurai is about something far more difficult: the ability to compartmentalize, the ability to be a disciplined, formidable warrior when required, but also a gentle husband, a patient father, a moon-gazing poet, a man who can, when the day is done, truly and completely rest. It is the art of knowing when to wear the armor and when to take it off. Your hand falls away from the sword stand. You are no longer touching the weapons. You are no longer responsible for them. Your duty for the day is done. Adieu. Profound sense of release washes over you. The ever-present tension in your shoulders, a tension you weren't even aware of, finally dissolves. The mask of stoic impassivity that you have worn all day finally softens. You are no longer a representative of your class. You are no longer a symbol of authority. You are no longer the inheritor of a heroic, burdensome past. This is the great, unspoken luxury of peace. It's not the ability to take a nap or go to the bathhouse. It is this single moment, at the very end of the day, when a warrior can give himself permission to not be a warrior at all. Historians and sociologists will debate the psychological toll of the samurai role in the Edo period. Did the constant pressure to maintain a facade of stoic discipline lead to emotional repression and inner turmoil? Or did the rigid structure, ritual, and duty provide a comforting sense of order and purpose in a changing world? Was the life of a peacetime samurai one of tragic, existential boredom, or one of quiet, contemplative contentment? As you lie on your futon, floating in the peaceful space between wake-up snarls and sleep, you know that the answer is all of the above. Your life is a tapestry woven from both threads. It is a life of profound contradictions, of quiet desperation and deep, simple pleasures. The sounds of the city have faded completely now. There is only the sound of the wind, which no longer sounds like a goblin. But, just like the wind, you feel yourself sinking into the soft darkness of your futon, a safe, warm vessel in the vast, quiet sea of the night. Your consciousness, which has been so sharp and focused all day, begins to blur at the edges. The samurai is gone. The husband is gone. The poet is gone. All that is left is a tired man in a small house in a great city at the end of a long and peaceful day. And he is finally, truly, at rest. The last vestiges of the day fall away, like cherry blossoms carried on a gentle breeze. The feeling of the tatami mat beneath you, the weight of the quilt upon you, they all begin to merge into a single, encompassing sensation of warmth and comfort. The moon, which you were just admiring, is now a soft, benevolent glow behind your closed eyelids, a gentle lamp leading you deeper into the quiet land of your own mind. You are drifting now, on a slow, calm river of sea. There are no more duties to perform, no more swords to polish, no more roles to play. You have shed all your armor, both real and imagined. You are weightless. You are peaceful. You are asleep.